Cloud. Cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Lily, and if you don't know me, I am the chair of corporate relations here for ASU SWE. And I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction as to who I am. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to hop right on into my slide deck. Let's go ahead and put that away. And we'll go ahead and we will present this. You're here today because you want to hear a little bit about some help with internship applications, because we've all done them. They're all a bear. And finding virtual internships, of which I'm going to speak a little too. And I've got a couple of resources. And I'm also going to introduce you to some fellow SWE members that are quite familiar with this sort of stuff. So again, hi, Lily. I am a master's student in the 4+1 program, specifically majoring in robotics and autonomous systems, which is quite a mouthful. My research is currently in soft robotics applied directly to human beings in, I don't remember, neuromuscular control and human robotics lab under Dr. Lee. Past work experience I've had is that I interned at Raytheon, I interned at the Intel Corporation, and I'm currently working at the Southwest Research Institute. So I've done a lot of internship applications. And for that reason, I would consider myself qualified to present on this subject. Another member of the ProDev committee that helped me put this together was Bahar. I do not believe that she is here this evening. If she is, I hope that she will introduce herself and say hi, but I do not believe she is. And she's a graduate. She's a PhD student getting her degree in computer engineering. She's been quite active here at ASU SWE and was a machine learning engineering intern at BCM. So we're going to go over best practices for filling out your internship application, making sure that it's the best it can be and it puts less stress on you. And then we're going to talk briefly about some different opportunities for you to find any internship period at this point in the process and virtual internships in particular. So getting started right away, your best practices for your internship application, those online electric forms. I'm just going to take a look at the chat real quick. Okay, cool. The sign-in should be in the chat. For people that just joined, please sign in. This will be a part of your active membership. This can go to your active membership for this semester. So please sign in, let everyone know you're here. Your best practices for your internship application are going to be, first of all, what I call the rule of two, having at least 2 people review your draft, 1 close friend, and 1 career professional. 2 is keeping the applicant tracking system, or ATS, in mind. You may have heard that robots are reviewing your resume. We're going to talk a little bit about that. 3, having a store info as you go resume, which you may or may not be entirely familiar with. 4, to consider co-ops and other non-conventional internship and work opportunities, and following up. So rule of 2, make sure that you've had your most recent resume reviewed since your most recent large revision. So this would be the addition of new entries. So like your most recent job or your most recent large class project, one by someone who knows your experience. That way they can speak to what you're omitting or downplaying. I find that it's very common, especially with women in engineering, that we often end up downplaying our achievements and our experience. And I think it is very crucial that you have someone that knows you well and was engaged with you in the project or knew about your project in order to make sure that they're asking the right questions to pull out the depth of experience that you got from that opportunity. It's really important that you show that off and you brag about that because it is valid work experience and you need to be showing it. The second person who needs to review it is someone who doesn't know you and is hopefully a professional in the field with recruiting background. That's the ideal. And those people can give you a genuine first impression of what your resume looks like. They might be able to tell you straight up, I would or wouldn't hire you, or I don't know what this means, or this doesn't mean anything to me based on the way you phrased it. They're going to help you with phrasing your content and getting the best meaning out of everything that you've put in there. So the second thing that goes into the resume that you're submitting on this online form is the applicant tracking system, ATS. This system processes your resume when you upload it to an application, and it parses it into information that often qualifies you or omits you from consideration for a job. It's going to be looking for specific keywords, and that is why one of the first things that comes up when someone's reviewing your resume is that they're looking for you to match hot button words directly in the requisition that you're applying to into your resume. If they want computer aided design experience, you need to put that word in there. If you have MATLAB experience and they want MATLAB, you make sure that you put MATLAB in there. SolidWorks to SolidWorks, NX, the list goes on, but you're wanting to match things directly from the description to the requisition into your resume. I'm going to go ahead and put these slides into the meeting notes once this is over. All of the green links are active links to send you to websites, one of which shows you ways to make your resume ATS friendly. Some websites say that you should go PDF. Some websites say that ATS is more friendly with Word. You can look into the different sort of niche formatting things, whether or not you should have tables and whether or not you should have bullet points and stuff that may or may not futz with the robot properly reading your resume to really showcase your actual resume experience, your actual experience in that application. The next step, sort of aside from you just putting the resume into the electronic application, is they might ask for more information than you expect. And that is where having a store as you go resume is really important. And what I'm saying is that applications might ask for very specific nitty-gritty details like the month, date, and year at the start and your end of your previous work experience, the full title and email of your old managers, old employer mailing addresses, and plenty of all of that information you want to have consolidated into one place. You certainly don't want to put that on your standard resume because for the most part, they won't care. But plenty of different systems that end up taking more information about your resume or about your work experience will require those details. And the reason I have highlighted on here that you want this resume to hold previous information for all of your prior employers is especially critical if you're trying to get work that may or may not require a government clearance. That requires you to fill out a form called an EQIP, and that requires all work experience, technical and non-technical, since you turned 18. So you're going to want very thorough records of all of these details regarding your employers. You might as well put it down the moment it gets to you. The full name of your manager, the moment you know your manager, their phone number, their email, and the date you started. Just put that down in your resume. You can ignore it until you have to pull it back up again. Another less common practice as far as internship searches go are considering co-ops. They are very often a fast track to you working at a variety of different dream and goal companies because they're less utilized. The thing about co-ops is that they do generally happen during the college semester, during the fall or the spring semester, or both. And ASU might be able to hold your scholarships and loans while you attend. The thing is that you're going to have to check. It may depend on the type of scholarship you have, the type of loan you have, as to what they can and cannot hold in reserve for you to make sure that you don't end up having increased tuition costs if you were to skip a semester. But obviously this is ideal for people who are maybe going to be finishing a semester early or maybe end up being off a semester. This is a really great way if you'd rather graduate during the regular cycle. This is a fantastic way to fill that time. But again, I would absolutely suggest that you ask your advisor and financial aid in regards to holding your scholarships. There have been plenty of members of ASU SWE who have done co-ops. Plenty of them can be part-time, plenty of them can be remote. But when I'm talking about really competitive co-ops, those are generally in-person, boots on the ground, full-time job for that 6 months. In that fashion, it's really great financial booster. And like I said, it's a really easy way, I think, for you to get positions at considerably more competitive companies that you might not necessarily apply because there's such a large pool of people trying to apply for them for summer positions. So I'd absolutely keep those in mind and try to ask around to see if this is going to work for you. If there is nothing else that you take away from this, it is that I would like you to begin the practice of following up after your interviews, or after, not only after your interviews, but after you apply. You send in your electronic application, and the day you do, I want you to find a company collegiate representative, whether you had met this person at a career fair, at a tour of the company, at a conference, or like me, you look up the company on LinkedIn in attempt to find these specific representatives and give them a phone call the same day you submit your application. Here I've got just a little script of what you need to say to them. What you need to do is, and this is a really great way to get around the ATS craziness, is that you are directly contacting one of the gateways for your resume to get from that electronic application to the desk of an engineering hiring manager. And that is calling the company collegiate representative, telling them about how excited you are about this opportunity, that you understand that they may or may not recruit at ASU, but that you're really excited about this specific opportunity, want to show off your experience, and wanted to check with them if they've gotten your resume. It's a really simple, straightforward way to ask that doesn't feel too imposing. I just wanted to check if you got my resume, and I'm so excited to talk to you. And I'm not kidding when I said I looked someone up on LinkedIn, found the company college representative, found their main work phone line, called them, and then just used the automated directory to get their phone number, give them a call, and they had me connected with an engineering manager to have an interview with within 2 weeks. It's their job. They are meant to connect you to engineering managers. You just have to reach out to them and utilize them as a resource. So we are to the virtual internships portion of this little session. Does anyone have any questions on the kinds of things that I've mentioned thus far? Or wants to share any experiences of, to the point of what I've discussed, or otherwise? Radio silence, no? Has anyone here had a co-op? Also no. Okay. Also cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and we'll push through to the second half of this just real quick little session. And this is very briefly about finding virtual internships. This is also more internships in general. You've got a couple of different ways to find virtual internships. You can attend virtual conferences, of which there are many. I'm gonna give you a list of just a couple that are coming up here in the next couple months. Leverage your school, leverage ASU, and leverage the school that your engineering major is in. Utilizing Handshake, I'm gonna show you that if you haven't seen it yet. And I've got a list of some internships that were provided by the amazing Cassidy Michaels. So gonna show you some of those that are some options here for this coming summer. These are just some links to some conferences that are gonna be coming up soon. Women in Data Science Conference, the Developer Week, Grace Hopper, specifically the one in India that is virtual in the this coming week. And then a couple that I care about, which are in the beginning of June, respectively, the International Conference on Robotics and Automation and the American Society of Mechanical Engineers Turbo Expo. Frequently, honor society-based engineering conferences have a career fair component. They certainly do at Society of Women Engineers. That is why we were talking about it so much last semester. It was because it's one of the main cornerstones of the hiring cycle for Society of Women Engineers members. They have an incredible roster of employers there, as well as graduate schools, ready to both talk to you in the capacity of educating you on any sort of things that you're curious about, but obviously they are there also in a hiring capacity. If you are ready to flaunt what you've been working on and get hired. So I would encourage you to attend any of these or the career opportunities chat, hashtag career opportunities, has been pretty active in including links to different conferences as well as other virtual internships and from people that have reached out directly to us or other sort of goings on in the Fulton School. So I'd encourage you to check that out and give that a try. Leveraging your school, this is particularly for the biomedical engineering department. Thank you to Cassidy for sharing this with me. If you're specifically in the School of Biomedical Engineers, these are direct lines, business relations coordinator and assistant director of academic services, people that are directly working to connect students with career opportunities, mostly in a virtual landscape. And of course, if you haven't utilized the Fulton Career Center, they have listings frequently on the Career Center for both local and international job positions. You can absolutely do that. But use Handshake. If you have not used Handshake yet, you absolutely should give it a try. You could just go to career.asu.edu/handshake and then click right here on this tab to sign in. We're going to see if ASU tried to expire my password again, which it may have. And I'm going to put on my face mask because I'm in my lab right now. And Handshake is where I found one of my internships. I found my internship at the Intel Corporation on Handshake. And I found it by going to this jobs tab right here. And Handshake is a service provided to you as an Arizona State University student. It is free to join. And it is a job board that is better than Indeed. It's better than, gosh, Glassdoor. It's better than any of those job boards. It's mostly made for collegiate level internships and entry-level jobs. And I have 140 messages of different recruiters and things for admittedly not entirely engineering jobs, but reaching out based on my major for info sessions and applications and just kind of introducing me to the breadth of all that there is available here on Handshake. And so if I am interested in any of these opportunities, like let's say, oh, it's a part-time, this is very comparable to the job that I had at Intel last year. If I'm interested in applying to it, I can apply here externally, and it's going to give me some options to submit documents through Handshake. The resume that I've had my friend review and a professional review, right? I can attach that here. I can also attach my transcript. And then it'll send me to the external application that we just went over, a way to streamline. Some jobs will just have you, it'll take the information from your profile and apply it just directly internally, which is fantastic. It's super streamlined and it makes finding things super easy. This is also another great place to find virtual options. So if you have not tried it yet, I would highly encourage that you do so. And then last but not least, here are some virtual internships, again, provided by Cassidy Michaels. Thank you, thank you, thank you. These are active links to some REUs and different virtual internships provided by a couple of universities across the country. And then here is a link that I was recently received was Starbucks has some software and data security internships also available with, these are direct hot links. So what I provided you with today is just a couple of tidbits of best practices for making those electronic applications really fast, really streamlined, less stress for you, showing the best resume that you can and really putting your best foot forward by making sure that you try to reach out, try to contact an actual human being to make sure that your application with your incredible experience on your resume is seen and is handed into human hands. And a couple of options for finding virtual internships and in-person internships this coming summer. So with that being said, Does anyone have any questions? That's all the content that I had for today, but I would love to open up the floor if anyone has any additional comments that they would add as far as best practices that help them streamline their application process, or if anyone here has done a co-op, I would love for someone to talk a bit about that. But do we have any questions? But what if you have social anxiety? Oh, did you want to go real fast and then I'll answer the question from chat?
Oh, gotcha. Here, you can answer the question from chat first.
But what if you have social anxiety? This is not a stupid question. It is incredibly scary. That's probably one of the most frightening parts about career fair season is going up to someone and introducing yourself and instantly beginning, awkwardly enough, to brag about yourself to a complete stranger. I think there's something really powerful about the time that we're in right now, is that you, a part of this process is going to be virtual and a part of this process is going to be over the phone, which I hope might give you a bit of comfort and a bit of security in regards to, yes, it's very awkward and weird seeking out a stranger in a position to help you and then reaching out to them. But I hope that you can take comfort in the fact that it is over a phone call, and I have provided you a script that you can review with yourself a couple of times, review in the mirror, review with a friend, and go over it in the voicemail that you send to this person. And any sort of preparing for sort of an interview or discussion is something that us here, all of your Sweesters, will totally help you out with. If you think that you want or need help with those type of social interactions, because they are really strange. These social interactions where I am coming to you to brag about myself so that in a mode of proving myself that I can accomplish what you need to be done in effort that I can obtain that job. And it might be, I don't know, a way that it might, help you feel a bit better is that just to realize that I say brag because I've noticed that Sweesters they might have difficulty really speaking to the genuine, awesome, and fantastic breadth of your accomplishments. And it might feel uncomfortable for you to do that, but you're just trying to you're trying to give them your skills, right? You're definitely giving them something. They're not giving you nothing for something, I don't know if that was helpful. I hope that was helpful. Cassidy, you had a comment. Please continue.
I was just going to say that if anyone has questions about like virtual internships or virtual RUs, I did both an RU and an internship virtually last year. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on like what kind of experience you can get from that, like what it looks like doing everything virtually and not having any face-to-face contact. So I also understand if no one wants to ask questions when it's live. So I'll throw my my Slack username and my email in the chat if anyone has questions.
What if you don't have a position or a club or really anything that makes you stand out? What do you do? I have some from high school, but I feel weak bringing up high school. Okay, so so for the most part, we say that you want to replace high school with how awesome you are in college as quickly as possible, right? But if college is kind of a big step for you, or if you've been working a lot, obviously, even in non-technical positions, that can be really rough. It can be really rough to sort of get involved in those clubs and those things like that. Obviously, when you have these other commitments of taking care of family, taking care of yourself, taking care of finances, and Even just settling into college can be really stressful and really hard. What do you do in order to stand out? Well, I think the first thing is the reason why I mentioned having two people to review your resume is there's going to be something that you have, some sort of experience, technical or even non-technical, that is unique and has valuable skills, whether those skills are hard technical skills or soft people skills. It has one of those two things, and there's someone in your friend circle that you can take this to and you can have them read it, and they're going to help bring that out and help share that um, and help sort of get you to realize that yes, there is that something unique and different and interesting that you can put on your resume. Um, and and I also want to say that uniqueness is not everything, but also neither is a perfect GPA, and neither is pure, technical experience. I think it's about being a whole human being, and that's why I think it's so critical to have someone read over your resume, because if you have a minor in something, that's absolutely going to make you stand out and make you unique, or a double major. Obviously, that's nuts, but that'll make you interesting and unique. Um, working while in school, I think, says a lot about work ethic, and there's a lot of employers that understand that if you have to work while in school, um, that puts you in a very specific position in regards to like clubs and things like that. They understand that you're busy, and when you show them that you can balance these things, right, and have a GPA that is above, I think the cutoff for quite a few companies is 3. Some companies it's 2, some companies it's 2.5, but as long as your GPA is above the cutoff, they want to get to know you and why you're interested in the company. So go ahead, and if you don't have a lot of, I guess, like technical internship experience at the moment, I would say take the best projects that you can really speak to and get excited about from school, from college, right? Include, if you have been working, right? Include that you've been working. Include what you've been doing in your work. Um, Include any minors or additional certifications or things like that that will instantly make you unique. And then I would say if you're a freshman, you can include high school. Maybe if you're a sophomore, but I would say sophomore and above, you really probably shouldn't include high school. Any thoughts? Any other questions? Because I do understand, like I did a lot during high school, and it just became very quickly sort of apparent that like not everyone's resume is going to look the same. And if you want me to review it, or if you want any feedback on that, I can just drop my Slack and my email in there, and you can give me a shout. Anyone else want to comment on their experience transitioning from in-person to virtual work, or any other questions on what we've been talking about today?
Yeah, Lily, I have a question for you. So, how do you tailor your resume for your job descriptions? I know obviously this is something you're supposed to do for each job description, and I guess I kind of struggle going from a general to a tailored one. I guess what specifically on the resume do you usually change?
100%. Okay, so the sort of first instant move is you pull up the requisition that you're specifically applying to for the company, and you make sure that you check as many of the boxes of experience that they want as possible. And this may, for people who may have a lot of project experience, or may have a lot of research experience, or may have a lot of work experience, you might eventually get to the point where you start having to pick and choose projects and things, and pick and choose the order of these things. And you want to put them in precedence of the employer. That is specifically including and specifically phrasing things to match the phrasing of the job requisition that you're specifically applying for. So let's say, I'm not sure if all of you are aware or familiar with finite element analysis tools and software. One tool that is available is a tool called ANSYS. Another tool that is available is a tool called Abacus. More people are familiar with ANSYS than they are Abacus. It may just say FEA in there, right? If so, I could just say FEA, right? If they specifically want one or the other, if I have experience in the specific one I want, I'll put it. But if I don't have experience in the specific one they want, I might put the other and make sure to give it the title that this is also FEA software. Because recruiters are going to know some language, but not other language. That's another sort of thing when it comes to writing your resume, is getting this balance between writing it technical enough to have value for engineers, but non-technical enough for recruiters to really be able to see through it. So I would say when you're tailoring it to a specific job, it's 100% look at the requisition, match the phrasing as best as you can, or like find the work that you've done, find the projects, find the internships that match that. Okay. I have a virtual career fair opportunity at Raytheon. Any specific tips for that company? Any specific tips for Raytheon? I think specific tips for specifically meeting with any company is to first really do your research on the company. And when I say that, I mean take 30 minutes and look at their website at minimum. I mean, I've done less at times, but when you're going to meet a company face to face at a career fair or virtual or otherwise, I think one of the ways for success and the ways to make you really confident and excited about it is to do the research to find the projects that you're interested in, the work that they do that you think is really cool, any sort of technical questions that show that you do know what you're talking about, but show that you're curious. I think looking up and finding good questions to ask and finding good key and buzzwords to say, that's looking at their mission statement, looking at their problem statement. What's the thing that they really want in an applicant? Do they want someone who prioritizes quality, prioritizes excellence? In Raytheon, prioritizes like a military family lineage, right? Those are little buzzwords to sort of keep in mind when you're talking. But more than that, finding specific projects that you could talk about. When they ask you, why are you interested in this company? You can turn around and you know what you're talking about because you really looked into the company, and you could say X, Y, and Z that you guys do is so cool and I want to work on it. Or X, Y, Z is so cool, but I'm kind of confused about this. Can you tell me a bit more about how my controls background would fit into this product specifically? So that's what I would say is do your research, and your research should get you excited. And that's going to show. And that's going to be, I think, a really important part of your interview, is showing that you are both excited about who you're talking to, and then also that you did bother to be knowledgeable about who you're talking to. Do companies like to see volunteer/community service experience, or does it not really matter because it doesn't have anything to do with engineering? It depends. I think this is, again, going back and looking at a mission statement and a vision statement or a problem statement for a company, is that there are some companies that volunteering and community service is a critical part of their it's a critical part of their company culture, and it's a critical part of their company environment. Is on weekends, our coworkers all go to the food bank and we volunteer on Saturdays, and then we go to brunch. It's the best day of my week or something like that. For some companies that is really important, and that's another reason to just take a look into those companies. I think if you volunteer or do community service and have done it on a frequent basis of, like at least once a month for the past, beyond 6 months, then I think you should absolutely include it if you have the space, because it shows And especially if you've gone to the point of organizing things or doing large time commitments, it doesn't have to be both, right? But organizing those types of events, I think, says a lot about character. And then those large time commitments, I think, says a lot about work ethic. And that's another part of what I was saying, that your resume is going to be unique. And what's going to be unique about you is why it's so important to get feedback from your friends. This is another way for you to be unique, is for you to include that. But I would suggest that they be things that you've worked with for at least 6 months, and at least once a month, I would say. And or you have quite a bit of responsibility or have done planning for it, that sort of thing. Because I think it speaks to you as a whole person. It can show work ethic and it can show character, which can be incredibly important for companies. Should the resumes for these internships still be one page? That's been a weird thing, because now everything's online. Because it used to be that you would keep it to one page, one-sided, with relatively visible font, so you could slide it in a person's hands at a conference, and then they could look up and down at you like, as you're talking to them, and they are referencing that, yes, this is on here, yes, this has the words I want, yes, this makes sense for a job, right? So they don't have to flip it over or do anything of that. It's just right there, right for them. And if anyone can speak to whether or not they should be one page, if anyone can speak to that, if anyone knows anything about that right now in a virtual environment, that would be awesome, because I've been bleeding over my one page recently into more like 2 pages, just because they've already got a PDF open anyway. And like I said, I haven't been bleeding into more than 2, but I have been bleeding it out a little bit just because it's been kept in a perfectly virtual environment and not in person.
Some of the feedback that I've seen specifically is more in like a utilization more of a cover letter since we've switched to a virtual environment. So still aiming to keep your resume as close to like one page as possible. No more than 2 is the general rule of thumb that I've heard, though, even in a virtual environment. And then more companies are allowing you to like optionally add a cover letter. So what I do and that seemed to be like helpful for me, is I keep a full master resume like on the back end, and that one's like almost 2 pages long, but it has everything bullet pointed. And then exactly like Lily was saying, I look at the company's specific mission statement and see what of my experiences I feel are most applicable. And then I put those on there and try and keep that roughly about 1 page long, and then supplement it with a cover letter. So you can still touch on some of the other aspects, but then developing your cover letter allows for that a little bit of extra fluff and information about why you're qualified onto kind of the cover letter in a different way. And I've seen a big shift towards using those, which we didn't really previously see in like in-person environments. You'd never really handed a cover letter. That was kind of an after thing. But now that everything's remote, I've been seeing that a lot more.
I agree with Liz. I've seen like more cover letters in the virtual environment. And I feel like I've always been told the rule of thumb is like keep it to one page no matter what. And I think something that's helpful is on a lot of job applications that, at least that I've seen, a lot of them will say like, please attach your resume here, like no more than 1 page, or like if you submit more than 1 page, we won't read the rest of it, or something where they're specific about it being 1 page. So I feel like if, like Liz said, the rule of thumb she's heard is like maximum 2 pages. If you're going to go over, I would just make sure you really like read the job application and make sure they don't like specify a limit.
Thank you guys so much. There any other? Okay, awesome. Lena's also commented that for her, it's also been the 1 page preference with a cover letter. Does anyone else have any questions? And thank you so much, Liz and Cassidy, for putting the 2 cents in on that. The jury is still in on the 1 page resume for college internship and sort of entry-level job interviews. if we want, we can briefly discuss the cover letter. I don't have any comments on that, and I don't know if that was discussed in the Honeywell resume review session. But that is something that we can briefly talk about if people would be interested in that, or otherwise I'm obviously open to any other questions in the chat, or just unmuting yourself and talking about it. Well, if no one else has any other questions for the main body today, I think that about wraps up our meeting. I went ahead and I put my email into the chat, and I'm pretty sure my Slack is also just at @lbaywall. You can absolutely shoot me a message in Slack. If you have any questions on any of the stuff that we've talked about today, I'm going to go ahead and post this cloud recording into the meeting notes along with my PowerPoint, which has plenty of different links to the different things that I talked about, including the applicant tracking system, Handshake, which I absolutely suggest you utilize, and some other virtual internship options. Thank you guys so much for coming.